So the first thing we need to do is apply the mirror modifier. So we're going to apply the mirror modifier, and that's so that when we paint on the right side of our object, it won't also paint on the left side. Then what we're going to do is we're going to tab into edit mode. We're going to select everything, and we're going to press U and Smart UV Project. Now let's switch over to Texture Painting tab, and you will see now that we have UVs over here, and UVs are basically your model unwrapped, almost like a bunch of little stickers that will then stick back on to your character, and that's how the computer knows where things go when you paint on this 2D image. So now what we're going to do is, you see that our owl is purple, and that is because there is a missing texture, or so that's what Blender thinks, because we haven't given him a texture yet. So let's click on the Material Properties panel here. Let's click New. Let's call this Owl Body, and we're going to press N and click Tool. Now this will be our tool properties. Over here are our tools. The main one we'll be using is Draw, which will allow us to draw onto our character. There's also Soften if you'd like to blur, or Smear if you'd like to push that around, similar to the smudge brush in Photoshop. So now we need to create a texture for our owl. So let's click this little Add button right here under Texture Slots, and we'll add a base color, and then we can up this texture if we want, or leave it by default. I'm going to up mine to 2048 by 2048. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to select the color and make this black. Now you'll see that the bird body has become black. You'll also see that now we have tool properties over here. And the main ones you want to focus on are the radius, the strength, and the color. So with the Draw tool selected, we can begin drawing on our bird. And you'll see that this color right here is our active color, and that's the color that we'll paint. So we can go ahead and we can change that color to whatever we want. To change the radius of the brush, we can change here and click around. You can also press the F key and drag your mouse and click again to set your radius there. That's a much faster way to do it. Strength key is here, and that works just like opacity. So if we turn that down, you can see that's about 30% opacity. You can adjust that by pressing Shift F, and there it will give you kind of a fall off and let you know how much opacity you have on your brush. And with those tools, you should be able to paint your entire owl. Two more tools that will help you is the fill bucket here, so that you can choose a base color for your owl. So let's say that we want to choose this kind of orange, then we can click there and it will paint our whole owl orange, and we can start with an orange rather than a black, and that way we don't have to paint over our entire owl to get rid of that black. There's also the gradient here, and you can choose your two colors here by clicking here and changing the color there, and then you can drag, and that will do a gradient based on wherever you drag and land. So one thing that is very important is that your texture will not save automatically. So when you want to save your texture after you're done painting, you want to come up here, you want to make sure you have the correct texture selected, which is the owl body base color in our case, and you can see all of our painting there. Now if you were to close Blender, all of this would disappear if you do not save it. I just can't stress that enough. So let's come up here to Image, and then we can Save As, and then we can pick anywhere on our computer to save our image. And once we've done that, Blender will save our image and reference it. Now if we want to go and update our image and do more painting, we would then have to come up here and select Save Again. In that case, you could just hit Save here. One last tool to help you with texture painting is called paint masking, and this will allow you to focus on certain areas that you want to paint. So if you come up here and you toggle this little button, it will turn on paint masking. Now you will only paint what is selected. Now the selection tools are the same as edit mode. In A, it will deselect everything, and if you hold L, you can go around and select which body parts you want to paint. You can also just switch over to edit view, and you can just tab L and then switch back to texture paint, and then whatever you have selected there you can then paint on individually, and it won't get on the other objects, and that just makes it a lot easier to paint things like the wings. With these tools you should be able to paint the owl however you like. However, I'm going to time lapse through the painting process for the sake of time. If you'd like to see a full-length video recording of me painting the owl, there will be a link in the description below. So I've just pulled these colors off reference images on the internet, looking at owls and other illustrations of owls and kind of choosing colors that I like and found appealing. I'm just using the fill bucket to start with a base and a little bit of a gradient. And then I'm just using the draw brush to go through and kind of draw these patterns around his eyes and draw on these little ruffled feathers. Currently, this texture only works on the body because the body is its own object, and that's the only object we created a texture for. Now, if you want to do this for the tail, you would go through the same exact process and create a new texture. Again, if you need help figuring that out, you can watch the full video recording in the description. So now we're ready to light and render our character, but again, I want to remind you to save your texture.